Okay, so today I wanted to speak about a new group that's forming called the Alliance for Buddhist Ethics, and it came out of the Sakyadhita conference that we attended last June. Sakyadhita is an international Buddhist women's organization. And during the conference, there were a few people who spoke. One talk was by two nuns. One was Bhutanese and the other was Malaysian, and they talked a little bit about the issue of sexual abuse in the Asian community. And then there were a few people who were associated with Rigpa and Sogyal Lakar, and so spoke about what happened there and how to recover from it. And so some people at Sakyadhita thought that it would be good to start an organization of some sort and to make an oath or a pledge that organizations and individuals could take to support having healthy student-teacher relationships that were free of any kind of abuse, be it sexual, financial, emotional, whatever. So the Abbey was actually the first organization to sign this as an organization. So the woman who, is kind of in charge of doing this, she asked me to say something about the pledge that could be put on the website. And the pledge, she started with, like a basic short outline. And then a lot of people, myself included, gave suggestions of things to add. We want to expand it, but I think it's quite good, and it makes you think a lot, okay? So the idea is, when people take it, then they're really committing themselves to having good ethical conduct, especially in a student-teacher relationship. Yeah. And with Buddhism coming to the West, there's been some difficulties with this, but actually it's probably been going on in the Asian community for centuries, but it's just not talked about. Yeah. And part of the reason it's not talked about is out of respect for teachers, and we're taught to respect our teachers, and also because, at least in terms of sexual abuse, it's usually the woman who is the victim, and she often gets blamed. So women don't like to bring it up if they're going to turn around and get blamed, especially if they're revealing it in terms of somebody who's very highly regarded in the society and who probably has some very good qualities and helps many other people, and then she says something about this behavior and then she gets blamed. Okay, so now I think with the Me Too movement, a lot of this is coming out. People are talking about it, women are being braver, and hopefully society is being less critical of women when they bring this up. Although it can happen with men too. And all the other kinds of abuse, emotional and financial and so on, can happen to everybody, women or men. So I thought I would read the oath, or the pledge, whatever you want to call it, and just, because it's something that's quite meaningful to me, that I want to do my best to keep, because I see that, when you're in the role of being a teacher, and it's only a role that you're in sometimes, You're not an inherently existent teacher. It's just a role that you play from time to time. We're always students of the Buddha. But when I'm in that role, it's especially important because people see me in a certain light, not to inflict harm that especially harms them spiritually. There can be physical harm or emotional harm, financial harm, sexual harm, but I think the spiritual harm is the worst kind, because this really affects many, many lifetimes. So if a teacher doesn't act well, then the student loses faith, and many students lose faith. There becomes a lot of controversy in the community, which disrupts practice, and then many people just getting fed up with the whole thing. And I don't want to ever be the cause of anybody losing faith, because, the Buddha Dharma is so precious, and it's so difficult to encounter the Buddha Dharma in our lifetime, that to turn anybody away from it is really devastating, for that person karmically, and for the person who does that. Okay, so here's the pledge. In the practice of the Dharma, I hold the student-teacher relationship to be a sacred connection which prioritizes the spiritual development, maturation, and well-being of the student. Similarly, I hold that Dharma organizations exist to provide safe environments that allow those who practice the Dharma to thrive in supportive communities founded on aspirations of goodwill for all and supported by a strong ethical foundation of non-harming. So it's for the individual, it's for the organization. I acknowledge that any behavior that would be categorized as abusive, whether emotionally, physically, financially, psychologically, or sexually, or which is exploitative, coercive, or an abuse of power, or which attempts to cover up such behavior, is harmful and unnecessary in the practice of the Dharma. It is unacceptable in all circumstances. I am aware that harm has been caused by failures to meet these standards in the past, and I declare my commitment to maintaining them for the well-being and benefit of all. May this commitment help the Dharma to flourish, both now and in the future, and may it help to alleviate suffering and create a more compassionate world, which is our aim. And so those of us who really love the Dharma and have benefited so much from the Buddha's teachings, we want it to continue to exist in our world now. We want it to continue to exist forever in the world without any degeneration, without any decline, without any pollution or contamination. And we are responsible for making that happen, for preserving the Dharma. So we preserve it through our monitoring our own ethical behavior, how we think and feel, how we speak, how we act, for setting up organizations founded on a strong ethical foundation that where people, can speak freely, and when things happen, they can be discussed. And because the existence of the Dharma in the world is dependent upon the people who practice it now. We can't just look to other people and say, all of the very high teachers, they're responsible for preserving the Dharma. Yes, they're the lineage holders, but how we practice it as individuals influences a lot of people. And so if we really love the Dharma, our way of showing our love and respect for the Dharma and our appreciation for it is to uphold it as best as we can. And that always starts with an ethical foundation. And ethics, as defined, is the intention to abandon harm, okay, of any sort to self and others. So I think this pledge is something very good, and having an alliance for Buddhist ethics is also very good. There's a website now. You can look it up. And slowly, they'll put more material and more things on. You had a question?
So, thank you for that talk and reading. So, one comment you had made just now about when people in the Asian community or anywhere have been, doing harmful or abusive actions, and if it's sexual abuse, and the woman, wouldn't want to speak up, and then you mentioned the abuser could also be a person who has very good qualities and helps a great deal to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, something that seems to be the case and is curious, though. So in terms of, the development of good qualities, like someone, if they have these sort of deep Dharma qualities like bodhicitta and understanding of emptiness and these things, then so basically that doesn't necessarily impede them from being able to harm others totally.
Wait a minute. When I was talking about good qualities, I wasn't referring to people who had realized emptiness or generated bodhicitta. Those people definitely would not harm others intentionally.
Okay.
But good qualities is a very vague term. Okay, maybe I need to clarify it a little bit. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I'm just talking about people who can be very pleasant people, who may be able to explain the Dharma well, who have very good ability, to explain things so other people can understand, or they're very friendly, and so they make other people feel comfortable in coming to Dharma centers. Good qualities is very vague. I wasn't referring to people with realizations, okay? But you can also say, and this is one of the troubling things, that we never know who has realizations. So somebody could have realizations, and from their side they're acting with a kind intention, and somebody else misunderstands it. But as His Holiness remarked one time, I think to a group of lamas, that because there's a history in tantric practice of, for very high practitioners of having sexual union to accomplish certain stages of the practice, because it has to do with dissolving the winds and realizing emptiness. But His Holiness said, in the past, whenever people did consort practice, nobody cried sexual abuse afterwards. Yeah, Yeshe Sogyal, Guru Rinpoche's consort, she didn't cry sexual abuse afterwards. okay? Because if you're actually doing that practice, both partners have high realizations, and nobody's going to feel abused. Yeah. And His Holiness also says there's only a handful of people who can do that practice now. And, you know, in Je Tsongkhapa's tradition, you disrobe if you're going to do that practice, so that there's no confusion in people's minds. Okay? Having said that, nobody can control anybody else's behavior. People are responsible for their own behavior. Organizations are responsible for ensuring that if there are complaints raised and abuse done, that it is dealt with in an open manner, and the person who is, has been exposed to that receives the help they need, and the person who does it receives the help they need so that they can stop that behavior.